name is Claire Oatway and I'm the founder of Neon Juno, and I change people who change the world. Now today I am going to give you 5 tips for when you're experiencing burnout. And I'm going to use mime. Well, with some words. So tip number 1, be more Dora. Everybody loves a Dora. She's the explorer original. And kind of sometimes when you are stressed out, burning out, really feeling it, you are feeling every little bit of frustration and aggro. And so sometimes it's easy to jump on in. And that is exactly the time when you need to step back and explore. Just scratch beneath the surface, find out what's going on, ask questions, be curious, look for the root causes. Very often people don't come to work meaning to be but it's how it comes across. But there's something else more often than not that's going on. And when you are feeling it, you can be myopic, to say the least. And an asshole. Very rude. If you think that more than 2 people a day are an asshole, you're probably the asshole in the room. So be a little bit more Dora and just find out what's going on. In terms of conflict, there's a lot of conflict and aggro going on in the world today with opposing sides doing this all of the time. And when you're doing that, you can't really see how the other person might be right or where they're coming from. And it just keeps you butting your heads and building walls. And it just perpetuates that cycle. So spend a little bit of time. There's a really great trick to say, find the 10%, particularly in a situation of conflict. Assume that the person that you're in conflict with, in discussion with, is at least 10% right. And look for that, because you'll find what you've got in common. So essentially, be curious. There's a neuroscience benefit to that, in that it activates a different part of your brain. It activates the wise, sage element of your brain and stops those saboteurs from taking hold. But it also gives you some really practical solutions. And that's just number 1. Number 2, write it out. Write it out. Much as when you're in stress or burnout, you become really myopic and your nerves are on edge. So you can also quickly lose perspective and ideas just ping around your head like a pinball machine. And this is a prime time for that inner critic to take hold. You can see it. If you're judging other people or the situation around you, bet your bottom dollar some of that judgment is being turned inside and just giving you grief. When you write that out, I know for some people writing out is a bit weird, but when you write in free flow, you actually let it all out of your head. You'd be surprised how often you can find solutions in what you're writing, or when you actually write it out, you go, well, that's a load of nonsense, or, oh, actually, that bit could come true. You've got things that you can act on. But more often than not, it activates, again, a different centre in your brain to say, right, how does that fit into the wisdom? How does that fit in with what I know? Number 3, if you're feeling it, share it. If you are feeling that you're working in a toxic culture or processes aren't quite working, then voice that. Now, there's people that say that that's a courageous act, and actually to some extent it is, because courage is stepping forward, stepping through fear. And sometimes people are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of judgment, they're afraid that they'll be seen as somebody who complains, seen as someone who can't do their job. But actually, very often, from what I've noticed, people who speak up are the people who really care about the success of the organisation, the success of their job. So speak up. And very often too, I notice that people wait until it's a really big problem before they say anything. And that's too late. You kind of want to say it's a problem when it's here. At the moment, people don't say anything and it's here. Don't do that either. Or they kind of like wait until there's enough evidence, or they're just about to go, or just about to go off stress and it's here. What you want to do is be part of a culture that, you know, doesn't wait for failure, that highlights errors because it cares enough to make a difference, to kind of keep growing and learning. And that means all the little things, all the little tiny actions get picked up and they get acted on. It's number 3, speak up. Number 4. Sorry, had to do that. Show yourself some love. Kind of one of the things that I noticed when I burnt out big time is that my empathy switch for other people had gone, and that was quite different for me. I hadn't realised until it was too late that I hadn't been showing myself empathy for a very long time. So why not start there? When that inner critic is going 10 to the dozen, it just keeps heaping criticism, judgment and negativity, just keeps going in your ear like that all the time. And, you know, many humans, especially me, but many people that I work with, just aren't accustomed to kind of patting themselves on the back and going, great job, well done. You've done really good there. So let me give you a really practical activity that you can do to show yourself some love, other than buy chocolate and watch your favourite film. Those are just essential health and wellbeing tricks. A very practical exercise you can do is find a childhood photo. Don't go to one from a really miserable time. Find one when you were happy, ideally before you were 7 years old, and have a look at that photo. Your brain is conditioned that when you look at pictures of children, your empathy switch gets activated. You go, oh, lovely child, which you genuinely do. But have a look at that photo of that child and just see how gorgeous and funny and smart and quirky and messy and sporty. Just look for all the good in the child in that picture. Just look at, you know, the kinds of things that they're creating and fun they're having. Children are born without any preconceptions really about what they can do and what they can't do. They just are. And, you know, have a look at that photo, show it some love. Look at that child in the eyes and just go, you know what? You're blimmin' amazing. And then remember that the child that's in that photo is the child that's in there as well. And just, you know, it feels really weird for a lot of people to do that, but just trust me, the more that you can fill yourself up, even if it's one positive to the 5 negatives that your inner critic gives you, the more that you're able to do that, the more you'll bounce back, put your shoulders back and start recovering. Even during times of huge corporate change, this is one of the things that I notice a lot is if there's big reorganisations going on, one of the things that I always did, that was probably not very empathic, was encourage people to smile, be proud, push their shoulders back, carry on, even if they're hurting, mainly because who wants to give someone who's miserable a job? Now that sounds really, really harsh, but those behaviours kind of reek off you, whether you intend it or not. So at the very minimum, show yourself some love and you'll find that the people around you do too. So we are being a Dora, we're writing it out, we're speaking up, we're showing ourselves some love. What's my last tip? That's a better one. Don't brush it under the carpet. This is one of the easiest mistakes to make and one of the most common mistakes to make. So you're feeling really up against it, you're under pressure, you've lost your drive, you lost your appetite. So what do? You book a week's holiday and go away. Or you dial back and go, oh, I'm not going to do 110%, I'm only going to do, 60% and just protect myself in that way. Both of those are great and they're good general routines to get into, but if you've gone too far into burnout, you're kind of ignoring the core issues that are at play, all of the messages that are coming through from your body and your mind saying something is not right here. And what you're doing is that you're just building on and tricking yourself into believing you have even more resilience. Please don't brush it under the carpet. If there's stuff going on, it needs to be fixed. If it can't be fixed, you need to be fixed. Probably by going somewhere else. But you need to be fixed. You need to really listen to what's happening because the majority of times it doesn't go away. But all of that said, if you can detect burnout early, or if you can see burnout among your friends, if you're a manager of somebody who is experiencing burnout, you can, come back from it. You can build confidence again. It's not a one-way street at all. It is reversible. And it doesn't need to have stigma attached to it. But equally, we don't need to be promoting a culture that treats people like machines and encourages them to be on all of the time, because it's just not realistic and it's not actually productive. So those are my 5 tips if you're experiencing burnout. I really hope you've enjoyed them. If you want to learn more about what we're doing, then please head on over to neon-juno.com. Every day on Instagram we just share little pebbles of goodness and let them carry on, just to make the world a little bit of a better place. So my name's Claire Oatway. It's been absolutely lovely to share this with you, and I wish you all the best. Bye.